On Pub Day Tuesday on A Mighty Blaze, I am your host, Robin Kall, reading with Robin, my guest, Lara Prescott, who's going to hold up the secrets we kept every time. It's like, yeah, it's like Simon Says, we kept, it's out in paperback today. Yes, today is the
Today's the day, yes.
the day, June 30th. It's a big pub day, and there's nothing like talking about a book that I've already discussed because I loved it. And now we get to talk about the paperback, which is very different. Let me give you let me introduce you.
Okay.
Allow myself to introduce Lara Prescott, is the author of The Secrets We Kept, which was an instant New York Times, well done, bestseller, and a Hello Sunshine Reese Witherspoon book club pick. The Secrets We Kept is Lara's debut novel and translated into over 30 languages and adapted for television by the Ink Factory. Wait, has it been adapted already?
Or it's in the process of being.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah.
Even imagine, I mean, such a cinematic book to start with, so awesome. Lara received her MFA from the Mishner Center for Writers at the University of Texas. She studied political science at American University in DC and international development in Namibia and South Africa. Prior to writing, Lara worked as a political campaign consultant. Very cool. Her writing has appeared in the Southern Review, the Hudson Review, Crazy Horse, and more. She lives in Austin, Texas with her family. Her nails match her book and her wall coloring. How many authors can say that? Welcome to A Mighty Blaze on this Pub Day Tuesday, Lara Prescott. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here live from my shed in Austin, Texas.
I love it. It's really, I hope you're being real. I mean, I know Texas is one of those states that we're like going now, Texas. So you guys are being careful and you're doing
Oh, I haven't been outside in months.
There's nothing out there. There's nothing to say.
Especially now. Yeah, especially now. Staying safe.
Right? Yeah, and I know, you were just saying before you have an event tonight with Angie Kim, so people go to the Facebook page to.
It's going to be if you go to Book People's website, they have a link on their website events pages, and you can check it out. So I think it's via Zoom, but I think it is in on Facebook.
Right. So like,
not sure how they do it, but it's
magical. It's all magical. You don't have to leave, or you're going to be in that room, which is perfect.
Yes.
Room.
This is it.
When you're in there, does everybody know, like, do not, I feel like we should have on-air signs on our doors. I really would like one, but do they know, like, if you're in there, just don't bother me?
That's right. That's right. Well, it's actually a shed, so I'm in my backyard. So if they have to get me, they have to walk through the yard to get me. It's a little better.
I thought you were kidding when you said it's a shed.
No, it's a shed. It's really tiny. I don't know if you can see, but I
love it.
Yeah.
I love the shelves behind you. I thought you were kidding. I see a windowsill. It doesn't look like, it looks like you're in like somebody's bedroom or whatever.
Yeah, we painted it. We have a little AC unit because Texas is very, very hot. It's hot today. But yeah, this is where I write.
I love that. So is it like a she shed?
I guess I didn't know about a she shed. I just I always wanted a little writing studio. And when I bought this house, it had a little tool shed, and we just put up walls and painted it and put the floor in, and that's it.
I love it. Will you send me, I mean, as I'm doing my own little thing here, will you send me a picture of the outside? I must have one of these.
Yes, I will.
Like, it sounds very doable because it's probably just enough room.
Yeah, it just has a desk. It has a little chair that I read, and that's it. And the desk is a tiny secretary desk, so not a lot of space in here. And usually my dog joins me for these things, but she's nowhere to be found right now. She's inside.
I love when the dogs, that's been one of the, we were talking about stay in place before and just like all of the craziness of the past few months, but meeting everybody's dogs, cats, birds, rabbits, whatever, has been one of my favorite parts of this whole being in someone's home experience.
Definitely. I mean, they help out. They help with the writing process. At least Mo helps me just by staying calm and cool, and just makes me feel like this is going to work. We're going to work in the shed today.
I love that. So she comes with you normally and sits there and
Yes, she sits on the like chair I use to read every time I say, "Let's go to work. We're going to work," and she runs to the shed. Also helps that I have treats in the shed, so it's
absolutely treats help. Do you have any
a
good treats
bonus.
for yourself or are they all for her?
Usually I'll bring me a treat as well, because that's my reward for writing. Definitely coffee.
Good girl. Good girl. So Laura and I spoke last year when The Secrets We Kept came out. And it's funny because I just interviewed Kit Frick and her book. Um, I don't want to confuse anybody, but I Killed Zoe Spanos has the Rebecca connection. Deep.
Oh yeah.
And so now we're talking about The Secrets We Kept and um, and Dr. Zhivago, which I remember after reading The Secrets We Kept, I went back and reread Dr. Zhivago. And then I did not watch the movie, but it was on my list to do. But then I was thinking about Barbara Streisand and Funny Lady because of Dr. Zhivago. It's like that's how my mind works. So what's his name? Nick.
That's how mine works too. Omar Sharif.
Omar Sharif. Nick.
That's right.
Nick, of course. So that's where I go. So I remember I went down such a rabbit hole after we had our conversation, and I so love the book. And it's if you missed it in hardcover, you're lucky. It's out today, and it's you get to hold it up.
That's a new look.
The Secrets We Kept. Yes. So Laura and I were talking about it. It's quite a new look, and the original cover had the red star right in the green dress. Like, so what was the conversation?
This is the original cover.
Oh, you have it. Oh, I love that. Yes. You still have the mysterious CIA secretary.
Dress, yeah. So it's just a little new look, which I love. And it also has a reading book club reading discussion questions at the back, which I really love and I'm happy about. Yeah, it's so interesting because I can't wait to see it in stores. But I got my box of books the other day, and it was so fun to see it.
I know, right? You get the sense of going into the store and getting to see it on the shelf. I mean, unless like you could go, make a phone call, say this is very important. I need to come in when it's quiet because you're not going to pass for the older group that gets to go in early. And just like go right to your section, take your picture, wear your mask, like the coveted CIA mask or something.
Oh, I like that.
It's funny, not funny, but when this all started in March and we started doing just these insane amount of interviews, I think it might even have been before that when I spoke to whoever was the last podcast guest. I said, maybe they should give you masks to take on tour. I was really being tongue in cheek. I did not realize that's where we were going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm always thinking, marketing is fun. But what was the discussion about what did they want to portray a little differently or bring to the story in paperback?
I think with the design, and it might be a little hard to see, but they wanted to bring more of the story into it. We have Moscow in the background. We have what's probably a character named Sally from the book on the cover.
Yeah.
Her face is obscured. It's a beautiful photograph from the 1950s that they use. And I think they just wanted something that kind of speaks a different angle to the story. But yeah, I think the color is beautiful and
it is.
I'm very happy with it. Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah. And I mean, I've talked about this book a lot and I've recommended it to a lot of book clubs. And it's nice to know the paperback has the book club discussions because a lot of book clubs are very militant about wanting to know what the questions need to be. I've been in touch with book clubs who send the questions around ahead of time so people can be prepared. Then there are the ones that like to just, wing it and see how it goes. But it's always interesting to me how different book clubs present the book and what the expectation is. And then are you available? People will go to laraprescott.com and from there you can, find her on social media and everywhere. But is that the best way to reach out to you if a book club?
Yeah. And you can request me if you want for me to join your book clubs. I'm doing that a lot lately. Try to do a few of them a week, which is really fun.
Oh, that's great.
So I have like a little contact form on my website that just sends me an email, and if my schedule allows for it, I'm in. I'm in.
Yeah, you
So
go into your little shed with a treat and
yes,
you get a glass of wine or something, and then you just have, I think, as far as getting books out to the readers, and we were talking also about the events and the way things are, I am very hopeful that more books are getting into the hands of more readers, and this is such a great book to just dive into. And it's like that kind of book that you just go away, I'm in my shed, and you talk about the story, how you got the idea for it, the whole, I mean, you can also go to my podcast if you want to hear our original conversation back last year when things were oh so different. You can go to Reading with Robin on iTunes, and it was last summer, I guess, right?
yeah, it was last September, I believe.
Lifetime ago. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, talk about the idea for the story and how you weave everything together. It's really quite brilliant.
So the first time I heard about this incredible true story behind the publication of Dr. Zhivago was when my dad actually emailed me a link to a Washington Post article where the CIA had recently came out with that they had this role in smuggling it back behind the Iron Curtain where it was banned. And they released about 99 documents, all heavily redacted. So I immediately went to the CIA's website and read them all. And that was when the first inkling of should this be a novel, could this be a novel, came from, because I was reading about the redactions and thinking about who these people were, what their lives were like. And of course, I have the connection with Zhivago because I was named Lara after the heroine in Dr. Zhivago. So it's been one of my favorite books of all time throughout my life. So it was almost fate that brought me. My dad sent me this article. I was moving to Austin, Texas for a fellowship at the Michener Center where I could focus full time on writing a book. And it all came together with so many of my interests as well. My interest in politics, my interest in propaganda, about Dr. Zhivago and travel and history, and it just had it all. So I dove right in and started just experimenting with all kinds of different voices, all different angles to do the history. And that's why the finished book is this polyphonic, tour de force of different people's perspective, different kinds of voices, and looking at one event in history in this fictional way. So that's how it came about.
So interesting. And that's the kind of book that makes me want to learn more. Like I said, go to the book, the movie, read about history. I mean, from an article that your dad sent,
Yes.
so, yeah, so there was always that so you were named after that character. I remember at some point realizing that. I was like, wait a minute, that's her name. I mean, to have so many things that are so meaningful, important, and connect them in one story, that's got to feel really amazing. So talk about the characters and some of the other research which you did, and also this book takes you away, which is what we need, not physically, but certainly the locations and just the espionage and it's just dreamy. It really is one of those kinds of books.
So I started with the characters of a group of CIA typists. They're a group of women. They were the first voice that came to me when I was thinking about this novel. And I was looking at those redacted documents of the CIA's website and thinking, who typed these documents? And learning all about the early CIA typists, these groups of women. And so I was just, it was almost an experiment. Could I write this story through their voice? Because they know what the redactions were. They know all the secrets of these secret keepers. So this almost Greek chorus bookends the novel, and also they kind of check in every once in a while, almost as these grand narrators of what's going on. And so they're my first group in the 1950s, group of women typists in the CIA.
Oh.
From that, I have two women who kind of come out of the typing pool, so to speak. We have Arena, who is plucked from the typing pool because she doesn't stand out. She's able to blend in, and she also is, has heritage from the Soviet Union. And so she's plucked out to do other things for the CIA. She becomes a messenger. And then we have the glamorous Sally, who was a former OSS person who fought in World War II. And then when World War II was over, she kind of was meandering about, not knowing what her place was after the war was over. And she's used to pry secrets out of very powerful men, for her glamour and her beauty. And she uses that as her power. And so those characters all come together. Rena and Sally come together in an unexpected way. These are all fictional characters that were very much inspired by early women spies that I researched and got to talk to. And so that was really a lot of fun. And they anchor kind of the west side of my story. And then on the east, we have Boris Pasternak. We have Olga Ivanskaya, who is his real life mistress and muse. And we have those real people of history that I had amazing time researching, primary resources, as well as traveling to Russia and seeing Boris Pasternak's house for myself and doing all of these fun things to try to capture the essence of who these people were through fiction. And so those are the anchors of both sides of the story, and they weave together, almost following Dr. Zhivago, the book. It's banned in the Soviet Union, and it travels to Italy, and then it travels to the United States, and then back again, and it kind of goes all around the world.
Where we can't at the moment.
Absolutely.
So it is, I mean, even like the, doing the research, and that's always, Chris Castellani and I spoke about Leading Men last night, and getting a book in Portofino and different parts of Italy is always like the old, oh shucks, I had to go. And and people are continuing to write, and travel will resume, we know, but I'm wondering who's doing writing now who would be like, oh, I really wish I was, in Botswana or something. I don't know, but I'm home looking at my computer. But that, the traveling to Russia, how long did you spend there? Was it one trip? Did you spend a bunch of time, or?
I only could afford at the time to go once. It was, but I went for a few weeks in the spring during my first draft. And, even though you can get so much information from books and archives and photographs, to actually go there is a totally different experience. And since I had lived in Washington, D.C. for almost a decade, I knew what the streets felt like as I walked down. I know that summer feels like, but I didn't know what it felt like to be in the village where Boris Pasternak lived. And so I felt like it was definitely important that I go. And honestly, I would have gone to all of the places my book traveled to if I could afford it back then.
Right? I think
now my new book isn't set in too much of a exotic locale. Maybe I'll have to make it go somewhere after.
You're the writer. Well, since you opened that up, what is the new book? I have to know.
Well, it doesn't have a name, and I don't have a snappy pitch to it, but I will say that it's set in Pittsburgh in the 1930s, and I'm really focused on the Federal Writers Project, which was a New Deal program that paid writers during the Great Depression, and I'm very interested in that. Famous writers like John Cheever, Nora Zell Hurston, all of these people worked for the government for a time collecting stories of Americans and archiving it. So I'm interested in that. We'll see where it goes. It's still very much in the exploration stage, but I'm from Western Pennsylvania, so it's almost like going back home for me and going back.
That's exotic. It's as exotic as you make it. And I'm chatting with Lara Prescott, and The Secrets We Kept is out today in paperback. Now you hold it up. You're holding up my copy. But I don't Secrets We Kept, and visit laraprescott.com. From there, you can find out more information about joining in with book clubs, sending a form. Tonight, she's going to be with Angie Kim, Book People. So go to the Facebook page at 7. Is it at 7 o'clock your time?
7 Central, yep.
7 Central, whatever that means in my world, but 7 Central. There's been a lot of math to do. It's funny, every time I post, I'm like, I remember to be mindful of that, because we do our live events, or always had, here on the East Coast. And while we've had some people travel to them, for the most part, it was New England. So people every once in a while be like, well, what time our time? I'm like, it's this time East Coast, figure it out. We've done a lot with our friends in Australia, so we're trying to figure that out. And then when the time change happened, it's not enough that we're like in a pandemic, but there are time zones to deal with. So
Yes.
That's why I need a shed of my own.
Yes, you do. I'll send you a picture of the outside.
I love that. Yeah, we could do a little Virginia Woolf, a shed of her
A
own.
shed of our own. That's what we need.
Yeah,
That's
not a good
that's
title.
the new, that's not as exciting.
No, but I could see it painted on a sign, you know, which is a lot nicer than go away. Go
True.
away.
True.
So, and what are you reading? What are you recommending?
I'm reading so many different books. Right now I'm rereading my friend's book, Maria Reva's book, Good Citizens Need Not Fear. I'm in conversation with her later in July. And so I'm rereading her wonderful, it's a linked short story collection, and I highly recommend it. It's her debut.
I'm writing it down. What is it? I love
it's called Good Citizens Need Not Fear. Okay. By Maria Reva. And so if you like Soviet Union related things, it takes place in Ukraine. And
nice.
We were fellow students together at the Mishner Center.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I know. So it's kind of like reading is prep, which is great because it's, you know, that's where I'm reading and I'm always like, I'm busy reading, like being in bed. So that's at the end of July?
I think it's July 10th. It's on my website though.
Yeah, go to laraprescott.com and you can find where all the events are. And what's on your, like the top of your, like, if I don't get to this book this summer, I'm going to be so sad list.
Oh, there's so many good books coming out. I have a lot of research books that I'm currently needing to get to. But I'm also revisiting, I'll hold it up. I'm revisiting Joseph Mitchell, up in the Old Hotel, classic essays from the New Yorker, just to capture the time period that I'm looking at for my writing. But I just received what book I'm reading next up, I think A Burning I'm reading, which just came out.
Oh yeah, Mega's book. So good. I think that's one of those books that's at the top of everybody's, or should be at the top of everybody's.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's funny when you have like 40 books in the top 10 you must read. Like, it's very hard, and there are just like a plethora of incredible books. It's never ending, which is why when somebody says they're reading a book and they're just not loving it, and I'm like, put it down, pick up another book.
That's how I am. I give it some time because sometimes it's a slow burn, but I don't give it a whole book. I'm not one of those writers. There's too many books to get to for me.
There are. I have a friend from college who just asked for a recommendation, and I was afraid to recommend anything because I remembered that he will trudge through. So I was like, oh my God, the pressure of a sure thing. And then it's also what you're in the mood for at the moment. It could be the best book, but not for you in that moment when you have, you know, whatever else is going on. So the books that are, you know, that's why The Secrets We Kept, I mean, that is, you know, for people who haven't read it or missed it in hardcover, it's out today in paperback, and visit laraprescott.com for more information. Your whole website's great. And it's, and you're welcome. And the strong women, I mean, is always really forefront. That is, we want those characters. So I'm so excited to hear it's being developed. Are you working on it with that? Like, are you connected in that way too, creatively?
I'm not going to be doing the screenplay. I'll be like an executive producer who gets made and consultant, but I leave it in their hands. They're very capable hands because I'm definitely on to the next novel. But I think it would be really fun to write for television someday, but I'm not up to par right in that skill set yet. But I'm learning.
Yeah, and then I guess, do you get an executive producer chair?
I don't know. Probably not.
I think they should give you a chair.
Maybe I should have put that in the contract. I need a chair.
If it's not too late for an addendum, even if you can't be there, it should just be there with your name on it. Like, this would not have been done without the book. I'm always cheering for the writers whenever a TV show, a movie play, whatever's up. I'm like, who wrote the book? Who wrote the book? That's where
I know. Or when they win an award and they're like, and then it was the novelist is never really mentioned.
And we're always like tweeting out the novel. That's because that's where the story begins. The writer is the magician. That's where all of the brilliance begins with those words. And then, yes, it's taken in another direction and it's you know, interpreted however, but it starts with the book. And
definitely
thrilled to have you here on A Mighty Blaze celebrating the paperback release. The Secrets We Kept is out. It is amazing. I loved it. And like I said, if you go to Apple iTunes, Reading with Robin, Lara and I did the podcast last, whatever, I'll go with whatever.
August or September, like almost a year ago.
There's no sense of time anymore.
Oh.
I realized today's June 30th, but it did not occur to me that tomorrow then is July 1st.
I know. It's insane. It's been about a year.
How is it July? I don't know. But we'll look forward to hearing more from you, and stay in touch. And thank you for sending me pictures of my new abode. I want one like that. Whatever it is, it's perfect. I see a light switch. I see a door lock. I see a shade. Like, that's been my other favorite part about doing these in home. I'm like such a snooper. I'm like, what do
I know, I have a lot of like strange candles and crystals.
I love it. Whatever is inspiring. I know last night I was interviewing Britt Bennett, and she was sitting, she's at someone else's home, but in front of the bookshelf. So of course I'm like, trying to play guess what cover that is by the color, I did pretty well. So I was pretty impressed. But on behalf of A Mighty Blaze, we wish you a very, very happy Pub Day, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for holding it up. I didn't even have to ask.
I'm trained now. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, everybody.